What up, everybody? Welcome to the Knoc and Knef podcast. I'm Knocademus.
Knef CEO.
Today, I'm going to bring a topic to you that me and my boy done talked about before. It's police reform and what it should look like. So, on the latest episodes of The Chi, they're talking about police reform. For those who don't watch the show The Chi, what happened is a black person got voted in as mayor. While he's been the mayor, his stepson was beaten by the police for no reason, and it was all on video that basically he was being harassed by the police. Put him in the hospital. The mayor gets mad. The mayor fires the officer and defunds the police. In him defunding the police, he went to a community organization and asked them to police themselves, create a situation that they could police themselves so he could prove to the police that they don't really need them in their community. This is something me and you've touched on. I want to know, seeing that in that show, how did it make you feel?
There's a few different levels to this that I have to address. The first level is when he fired that police officer, went in there into the hospital room and basically, gave him the business and then walked out and fired him. That's what needs to happen. Plain and simple. If something like this happens and everybody knows it's wrong, I know it's wrong, you know it's wrong, you know it's wrong. People on Twitter know it's wrong, Instagram, wherever it's being seen, and they still have to decide what their appropriate actions are, I have an issue with that. Fired him on the spot. Well done. Bravo.
And then what was really good about it was when he walked in and seen him in the hospital, he had his arrest record, all of his disciplinary, all that. He had it in his hand when he walked in and talked to him. And it wasn't like he just made the snap judgment because it was his stepson.
Yeah.
He walked in there and told him all his indiscretions he didn't had and all of that. And then he commenced to walk out and fired him publicly.
And the thing is, even when he did that and walked in there and showed him his file, he basically told him the excuse that the officer gave him was like, hey, I've been an officer for 12 years. Or however many years. I've been an officer for this long. I'm going to have complaints. That's true. But not of a repeated action. Not of a repeated action of you constantly beating up a young black male. So, as far as him getting fired, wonderful, great, wonderful.
And then, how did you feel about him taking funds from the police department and giving it to these community organizations to police themselves?
I'm of two minds of this. My first mind is, I think if the people are trained to do the job and they're respected in the community, then it can be done. But if it's just another person walking up to your door and you're in a heated exchange, just like that episode, guy walks up, he's in a domestic dispute with his girlfriend. Walk up, some random dudes come to his door, try to de-escalate the situation, and he instantly just hauls off and punches the dude. Now what do you, because now you don't have any power behind you. You're just a man. And as a man, we gonna sit there and look each other man to man and either get down, but in this situation, the dude's partner pulled out a gun and pointed at the guy like, you need to calm down. So if you're gonna put a community member in that situation, it's automatically inherently dangerous. So there has to be respect. Think about it. Your son is how old?
I got a 31 and a 26.
Okay. The thing that makes him respect you is because you are his father. Both of them. You are their father. Right? But as a man, if a 31-year-old man walks up to you at a gas station, you are going to look at him as a man. not as your son. So that grown up respect, admiration, love isn't there. So if I'm in a heated exchange with somebody and somebody jumps into my conversation with this person and I look at you like, ugh, like what you like what now my focus, I don't have to focus my attention on my girl. I can focus my attention on you. I can focus my anger on you. So that made me kind of like, how is this gonna work? The premise of the situation, the premise of it, I loved. Because now you are pulling those cops and those officers off the street that are targeting these men and women at a disproportional rate in the community. So I feel like you have to have more community members go out there and be a part of the system and be a part of this, this group thought of, hey, we need to be better as people.
Well, I think the situation can really work. What needs to be done though is when you're dealing with these situations, you gotta go to the head of the gangs.
Yeah.
Who runs the areas, who runs the gangs, all the races.
Yeah.
And you need to have that first meeting with all those leaders.
Think about it like this, and I think this will kind of hit the nail on the head. To have that respect for these outside people to come in, it's kind of the same thing as we think of COVID, right? Mm-hmm. You have enough respect to wear a mask. Mm-hmm. Other people don't give a damn. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter. It might not matter if I have respect for you, if these people coming in to stop this domestic dispute respect you. Because the person who's not wearing the mask doesn't respect you back. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think it's going to be a huge issue. Do I think it could work? I absolutely think it could work. But you're also thinking that everybody's a good person. Now, the flip side of this, and this is something that I was thinking about, is how would it work with jail? Who goes to jail? Because an average person, a community member, can't just be like, you're going to jail and put your handcuffs and haul you off. So how does that work?
Average person can do a citizen's arrest.
Can, but who do you know has done a citizen's arrest? In your whole life, maybe one person?
I've seen a few citizen's arrests.
Okay. But like, I don't know anybody who's been like, citizen's arrest. But I've seen people hold other people down and wait for officers to come. Mm-hmm. I've seen stuff like that. But to just throw you in the back of the car and take you up to the county. Like, so there's a lot of things that I think have to be worked out. And this is the big problem I had with the whole defund the police thing as a huge thing, is because where does the respect come from? Where does I don't want to say fear because I hate to use that, but where does that part come from? Because if you say, I'm going to call the police, you're like, man, I'm out.
Where does the fear of authority come
from? Mm-hmm. Where is that? Because as a man, I'm 40 years old, I'm 41. I'm not going to sit there and let you just talk to me in your kind of crazy way. Mm-hmm. Especially if I'm upset.
Right, but see, if you're upset and I walk up to you and I'm talking to you with respect, I'm not disrespecting you at all. I'm not calling you out your name. I'm not yelling at you. I'm trying to calm you down and de-escalate the situation before I really give you my spiel. Mm-hmm. Then that's one thing. But then now you annoyed with me and now you didn't turn on me.
So it's now that's where the respect comes from.
I think that's why even in the show they did it as a group. It wasn't just one person walking up there.
That's true.
And that's what you got to remember too. You got 2 men and 2 women walking up there to de-escalate the situation. Yeah. Then that's one thing, and that's like a domestic violence situation. My issue is, how do you community police violence, prostitution, and stuff like that? Yeah. Because my thing is, you have to have an end with the groups or somebody associated with the groups that's doing it. Yeah. And see, once you have them on board, mm-hmm. then it changes the whole dynamic. Because now you have the gangs realizing that what they're doing is causing a problem in the neighborhood, and you're asking them to try and police themselves also. So then it kind of cuts the situation back. Now, you're always going to have a Nino Brown or somebody who wants to rule and run everything. And that's what has become the biggest problem in gang culture in the last 20 to 30 years. Because when I was growing up, sets, you had different sets. Sets didn't try to overrun other sets. It's like tribes. That was their tribe. They like, even with Crips in Los Angeles, you got different branches of Crips.
Yeah.
You got the East Coast. You got these Crips, that Crips, this hood, and the end hood, 190. You got all these different hoods, and all the East Coast cats are supposed to fall in line under one accord, but do they really? You know what I mean? Like, you got the Rolling 60s. Rolling 60s are like the Roman Empire, basically, when it comes to the cripping. They're the most known, the most feared, the most respected. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. The biggest problem in gang culture today is there is no infrastructure like it used to be. You used to have infrastructure like military or like an organization. Now it's not really that in the streets anymore, because
it's real.
Everybody's kind of cutthroat and out for themselves, and money motivates things. But a lot of stuff is done out of spite or people feeling disrespected.
Let me ask you this about this whole defund the police, the Shy series stuff. What do you think the backlash, and I guess it's going to get into this later, but what do you think the backlash from the police would be? Because we all, unspoken rule, we know the Blue Line is the biggest gang in the United States. Let's cut the shit. We know that.
Boys in Blue are the biggest gang in the country.
And we know that there's stuff that stays behind the curtain, buried, all that. We've had conversations like that before. What do you think the backlash from them could be if they were defunded? That means pension's gone. That means retirement. That means you are going to do something else in the community besides doing what you're doing as a cop. The backlash that could happen to the community from them.
Okay, so you're saying if community policing, self-policing is successful, and now we're defunding police, what happens for police departments?
What happens to the police that are actually still working, that are upset that their jobs and their fellow brethren's jobs are being lost?
My thing is, the jobs won't be lost, but my thing is, if there's not a need to do a mass hiring anymore, as people retire, they won't bring on new officers.
So you say they'll just kind of just dissipate as time goes on.
Yeah, and my thing is also they'll probably change the role of a police officer.
I think that should be a thing.
And police officers will probably require degrees in social work, or at least a background in social work, or and honestly, you should have a degree to be a police officer, because you think any old Joe turns 21, as long as they can pass the test, they can become a police officer at this point. You can't promote unless you have degrees in certain levels, but a regular Joe D student, who's a smart D student, who could pass the test, can be a police officer.
I think the reason why I asked you that is because I think my biggest question is, will there be retaliation? Will there be retaliation towards the black mayor? Will there be retaliation towards the young kid who got beat, or the people that actually took the video? Will there be retaliation when police are doing a job? I say it's the right job or wrong job. Doing a job, and more people are standing up. Then what happens?
Okay, but see, this is what you got to take in consideration. People are upset with the police because of abuse of power.
Absolutely.
once you have a situation like even in the show The Shy, there was a situation where this dude is either mentally impaired, slow or something, and he's always transient dude, and they were trying to beat him up and arrest him and take him to jail. And one of the citizens was like, "Hey, y'all not taking him nowhere because he's here every night and he ain't hurting nobody, he ain't bothering nobody." And the police officer was, "We gonna do this. He told everybody to pull out their cameras and film what's going on. And the police officers were like, "It's not worth the attention. Let's go." Because my thing is that, and now you're putting them on notice for doing wrong things.
But see, that is what the body cameras were for.
Body cams are supposed to be for that, but the body cam don't come on until they engage it.
That's true, but I guess the new ones are supposed to come on as soon as they leave the car.
Okay.
Because you have the camera in the car, and the new ones supposed to, as soon as they walk out of the car, it's supposed to come on. But that's what I'm saying. Like, there are already supposed to be things, provisions put in place.
I understand that, but see, the biggest problem is, for one, the Police Officers Association is the biggest problem because police officers have more protections than a regular citizen does, and they have more power. You shouldn't have more protections when you have more power to abuse.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because one, you got that power, and we hold you to a higher standard to begin with.
Supposed to be.
Yeah.
And
my thing is, even though you're held to a higher standard, you should be able to be prosecuted just like we are for our mistakes. Because you can make a mistake and kill somebody and still get to go to work the next day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least the next month. This person isn't walking anymore. They don't have that option. So there should be consequences for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing is we're looking at as accountability.
Right.
And a huge missing factor in this is the accountability factor. Because a lot of times, and we've seen multiple cases where officers have done something that's unjust, have done something that's hurt somebody else, has done something to kill somebody, and they still get to walk. And that's the thing. They'll either, get the little vacation time, desk duty, get fired, but still be able to be hired somewhere else.
Yeah, and see my issue, but see that's supposed to change with this administration. This administration is supposed to be making a database, so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
But with
you got it for Uber drivers, so why can't you have it for police officers?
Yeah. With that being said, though, it's like I don't feel that if I make a mistake on my job, and my job deems that it's a big enough mistake, I get fired.
100%. You go.
So why aren't they held to the same standard?
But my thing is that's a simple thought process.
Not even just a simple. Not even. My thing is this: I can't make a mistake. A doctor can't make a mistake that costs somebody their life without malpractice suit and having to come off money for it. Why does a cop get to shoot and kill somebody by accident and that cop does not have to pay retribution? Because I guarantee if it came out of their pockets and not some police slush fund or some police fine fund or lawsuit fund, the way they do their policing would change. Because if they were in danger of losing their homes, their cars, and still having to come to work, things would change.
I think so. It just came out that Alton Sterling's family settled their lawsuit for $4.9 million or something. I'm glad hopefully they feel closure. I mean, you'll never feel closure losing a father in the manner that father, brother, son, husband, in the manner that he lost his life. But that money comes from the citizens that recorded him dying.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from the officers that choked him out.
It should come from the officers. Honestly, it should come from the officers' retirement.
It should come from the officers' retirement. It should come from all the officers' retirement. Because that will be able... If you did that, it would hold all of them accountable. Every single one of them.
Yep. Well, we could go on and on about this for days. I kind of wanted to get people to start thinking about change with law enforcement, on how law enforcement is in our communities, whether it's black, brown, white, or whatever. There's too much abuse of power in this state, in this country when it comes to dispositions. So we need to really look at and re-envision things. I know there's a lot of people that don't feel this way. A lot of people aren't affected by it, but it's something that really needs to be thought out. If we're going to get rid of the unfairness and racism of what's going on in this country, we have to start with the police and other agencies that work with the people. I'm Knoc.
I'm Knef.
Thank you for listening.
Till next time.
Till next time.